Ala Al-Ali there, member of the board at Novel Foods Group. Any further questions, of course, you can ask any of our speakers in the upcoming breaks. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's time now to discover the transformative trends and technologies steering the F&B's journey towards a groundbreaking future. To tell us more, please do welcome your moderator. We're going to be moving into our first panel discussion of the day. Please welcome back Sergey Ivanov, the Executive Director and member of the board at EFCO Group, Russia.
So I'm inviting our speakers to the panel. Do we have a list? So Mrs. Shoda Kim, Dr. Andy Zinga, Mr. Raymond Schiffler, Bilal Ahmad Khan, and Andil Khan Durrani. I want to say a few words to Mr. Schroeder about 20, 30 years. To be honest, I would love to be in your shape in my 80s. And I'm sure we'll be able to have a dinner together in 20 years. I'm inviting you to the dinner 2044. Please have a seat. Okay, choose whatever you want. Feel comfortable, please. Okay, that will be my chair. So our first panel discussion. We've got a little bit limited time, around 40-45 minutes. I've got a first question as an icebreaker question. Please share just 1 to 3. The main challenges, in your point of view, the three main challenges around the global food security. Who's going to start?
Right. Good morning, everybody, and it's a pleasure to be here. So just to give a bit of context of my presence here, so I am part of Nielsen when we look at the consumer insight. So we bring in what the consumers are looking for, what they are buying, how their purchase habits are going on about. So I am kind of on the other side of the spectrum, on thinking about more in the demand of the products, right? So when I look at what the consumer is actually looking for, so today some of the challenges that they feel.
Just 1, 2, 3.
Of course, I'm coming to that. Thank you. So the first one I would say would be nutritional insecurity. Mm-hmm. That's number one, where you have a lot of products, but you don't know what the products have and how you can fulfill your bodily needs, number one. Number two would be, of course, as everybody has spoken about, sustainability and sustainable food sources. How do we provide for the world without harming the nature? That's number two. Mm-hmm. And number three, I would also speak about food inflation, as I really liked
inflation.
About inflation and the rising prices.
Affordability, you mean?
Sorry?
Affordability of the food.
Affordability. I really liked about how you spoke about affordability with innovation.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
Perfect. Well, firstly, thank you very much for having me here today. I'm Bilal Khan. I lead for the Middle East, our food security and food tech practice for EY Parthenon. So this is a topic which I'm very passionate about, and I'm very honored to be here as the first HiConf, hopefully many to come. Three topics are always very challenging to allude to, but let me look at it from a more macro perspective that my fellow panelists looked at. I would say number one is food insecurity. I think you yourself, Sergey, raised the point of how do we feed 10 billion people in 2050. I think that is a challenge on its own. But if you look at today, 1 billion people are still undernourished. So I think we have a challenge today to solve, but naturally also looking at what can the future do. That would be, I would say,
food insecurity.
Food insecurity would be number one. Number two, I think equally important is the environmental impact. Mm-hmm. So our current food systems, as we know, have a degrading impact on our ecology, on biodiversity, on deforestation, on greenhouse emissions. I think we need to really revisit, refresh the way we look at food systems. So I think the environmental impact is a massive macro trend challenge. And number three is definitely health and nutrition.
Nutrition.
Nutrition. I think affordable, nutritional tasty food is very important to tie in with Adil's comment on the consumers.
Mr. Schiffer, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I make it shorter. I think number one is definitely the consumers, all of us. I mean, if we demand something from the producer, they will change their behavior. And I think that's, we have a power because we are buying for, we have to pay for. And I think this kind of mission, what we're discussing today and becoming pioneers in the whole food industry, starts with the consumers. And second one is, of course, related to this. If the consumer and all people all over the world knowing more about what is good for them and what is healthy and good for the planet, then it's a trend, it's a fan, they're becoming fans of this development and not just the consumer. I think education is very important, and I'm very proud that we have such a smart environment over here in the UAE, and also very clever people, intelligent, and I think it's easier here in this country, but it's probably a good example how to make it done in other countries. It means the government has to teach in the schools. Number 3 is the young people, the super young people in the schooling education system. We have to start, it was a long time ago in Germany, but now it's a little bit gone, that we're talking about also food in the school from early stage. Early stage means elementary school.
Yes, thank you. So the three I would say are the biggest challenges. First of all, it's consumer trust. So we conducted a few surveys according to which consumers are a little bit confused as to all the new technologies out there, from cellular meat to plant-based sausages and stuff like that. And if there's no consumer trust, there's no uptake of innovations. That's the real problem. And we found that if you actually explain to them what it is, their trust rises. But there's other stuff like mislabeling, adulteration of food, and such like. So consumer trust is key for the future. Secondly, and somebody just said it, is sustainability. I think that's a very important thing. We see large corporates reconfiguring their entire supply chain in order to make, to produce food with a lower environmental footprint. And the third one is supply chain disruptions. So shipping from different countries and all the food being disrupted and super expensive.
Thank you so much. Mrs. Shodakim.
I would say the first one is the food security and access. We have to ensure that everyone has access to safe, nutritious, and especially affordable food. And that's this challenge involves also addressing issues like unequal distribution and food waste management. The second thing is, of course, nutrition and health. I mean, there is so much malnutrition, both over and undernutrition. And third is sustainability and environmental impact, of course. And we need more sustainable production and distribution, which minimize waste and also environmental impact. Thank you.
We've made a workshop as a first, as a study, expert study. So my first question to Bilal Ahmad Khan, and in your assessment, what key trends will determine food security in the next 10 years? And what technological challenges in food relevant in the MENA region, especially in this region?
Perfect. I think when you look at food security, and the panelists have already touched upon different elements, you look at availability of food. Is there enough food available? You look at access of food. Do the channels exist that it gets to everyone? You look at the affordability of food, right? Is it priced to a point where it is affordable to all consumers of all demographics and dimensions? And naturally, is it sustainable enough as well in its production and its life cycles? I think these four would remain prevalent over the next decade as well. I think over time, we've realized, especially with COVID-19, as well as, of course, some of the geopolitical situations in Europe and also in the region, where supply chains have become very restricted. So how do we reconfigure this in a manner where food is closer to home, food is grown, and this sort of transitions into, I think, what's very relevant for the Middle East and the GCC in particular. And having been here for the past decade now and having the privilege to work with the governments, national champions, but also food tech companies as well, I think when you look at the food security strategies and priorities of the region, they stem around the basis of domestic sustainable production. And for the next, not just 10 years, but even beyond, I think this is a very critical element that will drive not just the progress of this region, but I think we're at a forefront with the advent of biotech and other technologies, whether this is recirculated aquaculture systems or vertical farming, where this region can actually lead for the rest of the world how we look at food as well. So I think the Middle East is very uniquely positioned. The government has significant support. There's tremendous amount of investment here as well. Above and beyond domestic production, of course, there's challenges on food loss and waste. I think we're all familiar with statistics, but for those that are unaware, almost a third of the food that we produce is lost by the time it either comes to us or even as it is wasted as well. If we resolve for that, that adds 30% or 33% of supply back into the food systems. So important to look at the reduction of food loss and waste, which in this region is particularly higher as well than the rest of the markets. And then the last point is still partnerships. And I think today is an example of bringing together people from academia, research, investments, governments, the private sector as well, but trade partnerships, research partnerships, innovation partnerships are very critical to ensure that we enable the success of food security in the future.
Thank you. Ms. Rahim,
Yes.
that's a question to you, please. What motivated you to become an expert in the field of healthy nutrition and innovations, and specifically about Korea? With your vast horizons in the Korean business ecosystem, please share with us what types of technologies, in your opinion, they have relied on in Korea and why.
I wouldn't say I'm an expert. I think everybody should be food experts in this time, I think, because we ourselves know the best what we need and what I need for a healthy life. And I think the motivation why I'm engaging so much with this food topic is from very personal experience. Years ago, our doctor recommended us, for my husband and myself, to take medicine, cholesterol-lowering medicine statin, because our cholesterol levels were very high. And then before I go this path, I suggested to doctor to have experiment, 4-week experiment as a dramatic change of our daily diet. And then after these 4 weeks, we could drop our cholesterol level without resorting to any medication from, in my case, from 270 to 180, and my husband from 260 to 179. From this very positive experience, we could change this cholesterol level without resorting to medication. So there was the motivation that I engaged very much for to inform and to do many things in this topic, healthy nutrition. Yes. And the second question, yes, Korea, South Korea is now at the moment a country where a lot of healthy foods are a very high topic. Especially, I would say a notable focus is biotechnology. Why? I could say Korea has a rich tradition for using fermentation, such as kimchi or doenjang, maybe soybean paste, you know, and gochujang as a spicy chili paste. And from this tradition, using fermentation, we've developed the biotechnology so far that we now have products with functional ingredients. For example, enriched omega-3 enriched eggs or probiotic food. We have at the moment kimchi with those functional ingredients. For example, kimchi with spirulina, kimchi with more chlorella, things like that. That is one thing. And the other thing, that recent development enabled for us having more and more functional foods. Why? People in South Korea want to be clearly communicated. If I eat this something new, I mean, everybody is mentioning, if we are talking about alternative meat, alternative food, people are scared, is it really safe or is it really added value for our health? They are not sure. But so in South Korea, biological technology enabled some ingredients and clearly communicated which added value you have for your healthy life. So that's also very, very important. And I would also mention one last thing is, I think the key is personalized medicine, personalized food nutrition, and how it is possible. We have to build an infrastructure such as digitalized platform. How you can be sure which amount and which nutrition you needed for a day. Who can define this? And it's not an assignment of a startup or commercial, a private sector. It is an assignment of the government. So South Korea is now working on that, establishing those digitalized platform for personalized health and nutrition. And I'm sure that because I've seen that Dubai and UAE is a very developed country with the new digitalization, and I'm quite sure there could be a huge amount of collaboration building those platforms. So the startups, food tech startups, need a infrastructure. I mean, what does it mean that you develop the lab-grown meat or alternative meat, but the government is not ready to give them permission? I mean, newly, Israel and some Singapore, some countries are already advanced with this issue, but there are still some reluctant behavior. I can fully understand. So I would say South Korea as one of the countries with a deeply developed digitalization, and UAE too, maybe this personalized health and nutrition will be the key for the future of food. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And one more thing, maybe before one more thing is, I actually prepared one picture before and after picture of my husband, what changed the diet.
Please share.
Oh, yes. Maybe who in the audience would like to speculate which one of the picture shows my husband 6 years younger? Would you say the right one? Please raise your hand. Right one is 6 years younger.
Right, it's this picture or?
Yes, right one.
Right, it's the.
Yes, picture on the right side, 6 years younger. Unfortunately, you guessed wrong. The picture of the left side is actually my husband 6 years before. What is the difference? A dramatic dietary change. That means I think my husband could be a very good example what changing of diet, what effect you can have if you change your diet plan. I mean, we could drop our cholesterol level without any medication, just by doing our dietary plan change. And I want to say, and Sergey, you are dreaming of a table with food which is not only healthy and very delicious in 20 years. And my husband commented, oh, I'm going to, He is now going to 80 years old in this April, and we will have 80 years birthday party. And I think, Sergey, if you invite us in 20 years to your dinner, which you are dreaming of not only healthy and delicious, what do you think? Make this celebration as a 100-year birthday party of my husband.
Right. Thank you.
We will be pleased to be invited.
Dr. Denga, first of all, thank you for your presentation. It's a brilliant, brilliant topic. And I would love to stop and to talk about trust, building the trust, and using the experience of Korea and fermentation, and then to explain why precision fermentation is, is almost the same as kimchi, but a little bit developed. But my question to you, from a different prospect. Let's say you have a multi-billion-dollar fund under your management. And your task is to ensure food security in this region, in Middle East. What projects and technologies would you invest in here and why?
Thank you for the question. Before I go there, I'd like your diet plan, please, because I tried the exact same thing, high cholesterol. I switched to vegan diet. That didn't work. But of course, 80% of cholesterol comes from genetic, but...
Liver,
yeah.
yes. That's my approaching. I'm approaching not for 20% we take by food. No, it's not. You can eat everything. It doesn't matter, just the 20%. But the key is, how can you reduce your cholesterol amount, which is automatically produced from your liver?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that's my approaching point, and we can discuss after the conference. Maybe
Sounds
it's the
great.
meaning of this conference.
I'm looking forward to it. So, sorry about the detour, but it's close to my heart.
Sorry for interrupting. Please keep your time by yourself, okay?
Okay.
6 minutes.
So I'm in charge of a $10 billion fund, and I'm trying to improve food security in this region. So there are a few things I would do. So first of all, I would probably rally all the different stakeholders in this region to come together and to define the priorities for this region, because it is important that both large businesses and smaller enterprises and the knowledge partners, universities and research centers, agree, and of course government, agree on what the priorities are. Secondly, I would probably say within that, the solution space will probably emerge that will look like, first of all, precision agriculture, including water management. So that's technologies that I would really go into because they help to improve the efficiency in water and fertilizer use. That's the first thing I would do. Secondly, I would look at investing in crop diversity and genetic engineering because it is really important to develop drought-resistant and high-yield varieties of the standard crops that are out there. So it's another really important area. And the third one is renewable energy. So I would say renewable energies for agriculture because it makes agriculture itself more sustainable. For example, at EIT Food, we're currently doing a project whereby we're looking at plant-based diesel product as an example. But there's many others, like producing shade with solar cells and such like. So there are many of these technologies, and those are the three I would say I would do. But first, again, I would say everybody come to the table and create something like an organization similar to EIT Food maybe that defines the priorities and then invests in those. I mentioned earlier in my presentation that there needs to be more government funding. So let's do this together is what I would say. My fund plus the government, together we have more bang for the buck. That's what I would do.
Do you think that it will be one of the issues here in this region will be the building of trust? Or in this region it's not so challenging point? What is your opinion? What
you mean
from your experience?
Consumer trust.
Consumer trust on new technologies?
Yeah, absolutely. It is an issue everywhere, so there's no doubt about it. At the same time, I also, in preparing for the first presentation, I actually came across a study by a researcher in the United Arab Emirates that said that people in this region are actually quite open for alternative proteins, which kind of surprised me a little bit. But again, that's what the empirical data set said is the case, particularly in the younger generation. So I think the younger generation is actually one that's more open to moving forward, understanding, and maybe even gives a little bit more advanced trust to the future, to technology and such like. So when I'm talking about consumer trust, that's shaken, it's probably demographically more in the, say, more mature part of the population. So yes, it is still, there's still work to be done in this region as well, no doubt about it.
Thank you. Mr. Schaffler, you are representing novel foods here in our panel, so thank you very much for the conference. And Mr. Ali is, left us, so thank you. Thank you for sponsoring the conference. And the question, your fund is based in Abu Dhabi. You live here in this region for 15 years,
Yeah,
up to 20?
Since 2015, yes.
Almost 15 years.
Yeah.
There is a large number of entrepreneurs from around the world here today. And what advice could you give them regarding the development of innovative and creating of startups or projects in this field?
I think this is a great country. I think most of all thought in the past. I'm since 2015 in the country. And what you learn from the beginning is always the glass is minimum half full and not half empty. So you have to stand up every morning and say, we make it done. And even this conference, as you can see, it's the first conference in the world. At the moment, the food tech conferences are in San Francisco, the important ones in Berlin, and then going further to Singapore. And we have the mission, and I think it shows us today already that we are pioneer, but we are becoming more and more. And the country is, from location-wise, population is very young, it's very diverse, and also there's an energy in the city. I think most of the cities in the world have losing this energy. We have only very few centers where you can bring talents together. And we are in Abu Dhabi, of course, because there's a strong leadership on the federal level. We're feeling the great support over there. Of course, we are in the all Emirates, not only in Abu Dhabi, but it's also a finance topic. We have learned also that there's a very limited amount of money worldwide invested from the governments, and also the funds at the moment are not in a huge quantity worldwide, seeing this I would say food topic as their main investment, I would say, focus. And we have learned also today by Andy that you can invest with $1 into the food summer development, the biotech hubs. You make the world much better in an environment. I think that's the mission, and that means we have to be involved with a lot of parties, not only the consumers. And that's why we have the concept center here in the UAE, in Dubai, because I think it's easier to bring the people together in Dubai because they are somehow easy to reach. They live a lot of diverse nationalities here and cultures also, and it's also important because if you have a concept center, very important is also you have to develop products with producers, but you also have to organize tastings with a lot of stakeholders, like the consumers, the customers, the government itself, because also the government is a huge customer. Yeah, all the school canteens, universities, if they're going in front and saying we are serving such meat, we're serving something and sugar, we're serving something very healthy, they're becoming also a very important, I would say, testimonial for tasting it also at home. So that means we in Abu Dhabi focus also on regulations and be in touch with authorities and also, of course, with financial institutions. And we have with us today a lot of UAE banks here in the auditorium. And we have learned that's also a challenge to, the word education is always a little bit difficult, but to share knowledge also with financial institutions. And if you look on the stock exchanges, here in the country we have Dubai and Abu Dhabi, but the capital market also have very limited listed company in the food sector. That's history, the country is very young, because the families, they started the businesses after the renovation of everything. And that means the stock exchange has a huge potential in the region because there are not many, a very small number of companies already listed in the food sector. And we see the potential that we using this kind of source of financing activities also in Abu Dhabi. That's why we are over there.
Thank you. So we've got a very good pace. last part, we're talking about market and customers. Mr. Adel Durrani from Nielsen IQ. How do you see the demand in the Middle East for innovative products developing? You have access to data about what people ultimately vote for, what do they pay for? And do you see any development is the demand for innovative products growing? Are people buying more? Or is this more about niche story for now?
Right. So to answer this question, we need to have a little bit of global context at the same time. So globally, there is an ongoing inflation, a rise of prices. Across the world, consumers are spending less and less on grocery, on food and stuff that they're buying. The inflation effects are also being felt in the Middle East the same way, right? So people are cutting on their expenses. They want to cut on their grocery costs. Their basket sizes are falling, they're dropping. When we look at this inflation and the behavior for consumers, that how are they going to behave in the next 2-3 years, right? What are they going to be the top priorities for them in terms of their spending, in terms of what are they going to focus on? So we analyze about 15 variables across the spectrum, 15 categories. Okay, are they going to spend on beauty, wellness, health, or other food habits? Interestingly, within the top 5, the top 2 spots for consumer spending in the next 5 years are health and wellness and fresh consume. So these are the top 2 spots, which means that consumers, while being in a spend crunch, they are moving towards a more healthier lifestyle, and they want to prioritize that. So that's number 1. And at the same time, if we look this particular aspect of consumer behavior and match it out with how the consumers in AME are responding to innovation. So globally, when we have a global survey across the board for food and beverage, about 30 to 35% of global consumers are open to new innovative products, right? So they want to be the first one to try new products in the market. In the Middle East, this number is close to 50%. So that means about 50% of consumers are open and want to be the first one to try new innovative products in the food and beverage sector, right? But when we look at and we roll back and look at from a manufacturer standpoint and see how many of those innovative products stand on the shelf for let's say a period of 1 year. So I'd like to take for all of us to take a wild guess. So any innovative product, how many of innovative products stand for 12 months? You'd be surprised to see that number is less than 5%. So 50% of consumers are waiting to try new products and only 5% succeed. So there's an absolute gap between the need, the demand, and the supply, right? And where is that gap when we go back to the consumers and we ask them, okay, why is this happening and what do you want to see? So there are a couple of things that come out. The first one is that there is a shift and we call it a consumer value reset, right? Consumers are shifting their entire value system. They want their food and beverage to focus on health and wellness, sustainability, and nutrition, the economy in general, and on top of that, they want to have it at an affordable price. So the innovation must meet affordability, right? And how do we do that, and how do consumers want to see that happening? And that's a great lesson for all the manufacturers, and I see great energy in the room. I think it's going to be very, very useful that the consumers now, they are looking at the nutrients. They want to see the nutrients on the packages that they buy. So they want to see those, that it's actually what they want to get in their body. They are becoming more and more self-aware. The next thing is they want to see the origin of the products that are being used in their food, right? So they want to see them labeled over there. They want to see that it's a fresh produce. So date of production, date of, let's say, going bad, that's going to become more and more important as well. And finally, the impact of the product on the overall environment. That's also very, very important. So you can say the 4 aspects of winning or bridging this gap between supply and demand. It's nutrients, the origin, the freshness of the product, and the impact of sustainability. Combine them with affordability, it's going to be a game changer for this industry. So yes, innovation has a lot of space in this, But at the same time, we need to look at the other end of the spectrum, the consumer side, and see where's the gap and how we fill it with all the research and innovation we are doing here. So absolutely.
Thank you. We have time for a couple of questions from audience. If anybody want to ask something from our speakers, please raise your hand. Do we? Yeah, that's a mic. Let's start here.
Right side.
Am I audible? Yeah. This is regarding the alternate protein or the plant-based foods that we are discussing here. When we look into the cultural aspect...
Sorry, question 2? Your question will be 2?
To, I think, Andy and Raymond.
Okay.
So it's on the food-based, plant-based habits, which is like the cultural habits locally is more of the non-plant-based, which is meat-based food. And we have seen last 5 to 8 years, a lot of plant-based companies coming in the region and not struggling in the market. I mean, market share is less than 1%. A lot of innovation also come in, whether it's from the Global Foods or Americana Foods or something like that. So how do you think in long run, will this plant-based alternate protein be successful in this region particularly? Also, there's a second question on this.
No, one question. Let's have one question. Dr. Zinger, please. Do you believe in the future of plant-based alternative in this region?
Yes, I do. I think there are a few things that can be done, right? So the first one is I think that the whole food service sector needs to be involved, right? By that I mean hotels, restaurants, etc. So if one can trigger famous chefs to come up with really tasty, great recipes that include plant-based but also hybrid products, I think there's a really good possibility of the demand rising because people always take that home, right? So that's the first one. Secondly, I think also a fair share of education is necessary. So at EIT Food, for example, we educated something like 10 to 20,000 people every year with MOOCs, massively open online courses that they attended, and we also operated a website called Food Unfolded, whereby people could get unbiased, scientifically based information about food. I think those would be the measures that could help, I think, in the actually short term. I mean, triggering food service and also a heavy dose of education.
Let me add something what we are doing exactly to increase I think the demand from the customer, and not only one time. That is what we heard. They're buying something, it tastes not well, and they give up very early. And the second point is the price. I think that's very important. That's why we will produce the product here in the country. It's sustainable. We don't have any cargo transportation, shipping, and so on. That's also important. And also you have to see the supply chain. The product is not only one element inside. So you have to control also the supply chain, that you can produce efficiently, very modern production facility and not old stuff, and you convert something which is old into this kind of business. So there are some elements, but the third one, which we starting with early stage with the concept center, we hired a master chef, I would call it a Michelin star chef, and he came from the meat business. He was not vegan. He was always the master chef of a more meat-oriented restaurant. I call it also steakhouse, a famous one in Dubai. And we had a couple of days ago, we had a meeting with all our employees, and we served the food. And that's amazing because then the people are satisfied. They see, oh, it looks good, it tastes good, and they're thinking also about if they're going in the supermarket, it costs less. This is I would say, the trilogy, what you need to be successful. It's a long journey. We invested a lot of money because it's not only related to the main dish. We have ice cream, we have sweets with a sweet protein, and all this kind of menu, what you can create must be on the top level. And then what Andy said, then you have to fill up the fantasies with some online courses, easy recipes, that is also entertainment, and the people enjoying also coming into this sector and not only just consuming. I think that's our experience. And I think...
Thank you.
Sorry.
Let's try to have another question from this part of audience. And short comment from my side. 1 year ago, I participated in a degustation in Sharjah, I guess. And we tried plant-based kebab. And the gentleman was trying, it was first time for him to degustate plant-based kebab. He was saying, is it veal? Is it really veal? So I also, together with Dr. Zinga, believe it's a big potential in this region. Please, short question.
Yes.
Okay?
So I'm Ashraf. To you, Sergey.
I'm moderating. Okay. I'm not speaking.
So I'm Ashraf, head of R&D at Novel's Food, and I have the privilege to attend today's conference. My question is about technologies and innovation and the change that is happening in this world. So we are today in a world where technologies are changing so rapidly. So how can an entrepreneur and innovative ingredients understand or decide where to invest the energy, the time, and their money, in which sector?
I have a very short answer. To listen to your heart. Listen to your heart.
Okay.
In the beginning. So I've got the last question as a closing question to my speakers, to our speakers. We started from challenges, and I want to ask you to share just one sentence. What is the most promising innovations, or what is the most promising technologies do you personally believe in the future? Going to be first. Ms. Shodikin.
I would say the personalized health and nutrition, that's the key, because our bodies is so unique, so nobody can know what is really needed from my body. So I already said everybody should be a food specialist and health diet expert. Otherwise, it doesn't work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, yeah, so I would also follow the personalized diet route. More specifically, I believe there's a lot to be done in microbiomes, so microbiome research, I think, is the key to so many things. It is truly amazing. And for a while, I thought it's about DNA tests and stuff like that, but I came to the conclusion over the years that it is all about the microbiome. So I think innovations in rapid testing and such like will be the key to personalized nutrition of that, just to go a level down from there.
Mr. Schaffler?
Yeah, I would say the same between, I would say, artificial intelligence, bringing the data from your human body in your daily nutrition and the selection of what you eat to have today. I think that could be a super development for the planet. Because also sometimes you have to eat less, and sometimes you just use that you eat the same amount of food every day.
Look, I'm looking at the time. I agree with the panelists. The only thing I'd add is on the enabling side with the AI, I think we can fast track a lot of the innovation on microbiome, strain engineering, and the likes. So how we integrate AI in food innovation is going to be quite critical.
Right, so my answer is going to be very similar. So AI plus personal nutrition, I think that could be a game changer.
So we see the future where food will be the medicine, right?
Medicine, yes.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much for our speakers. Now we close our panel session. Thank you.
Thank you.